G'day guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Wildkard. Thank you for being here and watching my content. As always, it is my pleasure and privilege to embarrass myself on YouTube. Yes, I would like to issue another public apology for getting the pool wrong, because apparently math is just too hard for me. I mean, I know I'm Asian. It shouldn't be the case, and my dad is very disappointed in me, but I got it wrong again on the weekend, although it's only a very minor error, and hopefully I'll fix that right now in this video. But yes, I made a mistake on the weekend once again. So in the case of a 3-week tie in the pool stage, the top team is determined by the point difference. The second and third team will actually determine their rankings based on head-to-head, not by point difference anymore. So yeah, I got that wrong, but luckily the overall result is still the same, like 90%. Everything is still like the same, so it's not like a huge issue. But I will get it correct in this video, hopefully. And yes, let's try and get this right. So obviously Pool B is the math problem that everyone is trying to solve. You need a PhD in rocket science to figure this one out, but hey, luckily I think we got this one right. So first up, obviously on the weekend Scotland will play Ireland. If Scotland can beat Ireland and deny Ireland a bonus point, which means Scotland will get 14, and in that case, Scotland would go ahead of Ireland, because in the head-to-head, despite Ireland having a higher point difference on head-to-head, Scotland will go through, right? So that's the goal. More than 7 points over Ireland. That's the first scenario. In the second scenario, if both teams get a bonus point, so if Ireland scores 4 tries and Scotland also scores 4 tries, so Ireland will have a bonus point, right? In that situation, Scotland still need to beat Ireland by more than 7, so 8. They need to deny that extra bonus point. They need to deny that extra bonus point. The second bonus point, which is losing within 7, to stay in the game. And that will force a 15-15 draw across the board. And in that situation, Ireland will still be eliminated because, like I said, the number 1 ranking difference will come in as the point difference, right? If Ireland lose to Scotland by more than 7, they will actually fall below South Africa. Yeah, so even if in the case where both teams gets a bonus point, Ireland will still be eliminated as long as Scotland wins more than 7. Okay, so that's the second scenario. And in the third and final scenario, which is something that's been talked about in the media, potential collusion, is that if for some reason Ireland gets a bonus point for scoring 4 tries, Scotland also gets a bonus point for scoring 4 tries, and Scotland managed to beat Ireland by more than 21 points, which would mean that the point difference between Scotland and South Africa will put Scotland at number 1, which means South Africa will fall to second place. And because South Africa and Ireland, in the head-to-head match, South Africa lost, Ireland will actually eliminate South Africa in that situation. So that's the third and final situation. There's some talks in the media about this, that it's like, is that something the team has been considering? Obviously the teams know this, but both teams' management has come out and said that they know that this is the case, but this is not going to be something they're going to pursue, because obviously this is going to be collusion is a very big very big, it's a crime. People can go to jail for this. And also this is not something that Scotland will be considering, because just beating Ireland by 7 is already hard enough pressure on the players. To ask the players to beat South Africa by 21, it's like ridiculous ask for the team to perform. Like, it's way too much pressure. So the only way this could occur is by collusion, and that is a crime. And I don't see this happening. I mean, if this happens, I think everybody's career will be over, and there'll be like people will be arrested, go to jail. Very unlikely. And it makes no sense for Scotland to pursue this if it wasn't, if Ireland wasn't in collusion to agree in the first place, because beating Ireland by 7 it's good enough for Scotland. There's no benefit for Scotland to beating Ireland by 21. So yeah, so this, like, it's a possibility, but like it's very unlikely, and it's highly illegal. Yeah, so obviously the weekend the Springboks, Andrew Pollard returned. I was very impressed. I thought he was going to be more rusty than that. Kicked his goals on the sideline, made his tackles, did his job, and didn't look out of place. He looked straight, he looked fitting quite well into the Springboks lineup. And obviously, the discussion now is that whether or not he's going to be starting ahead of Manon Leboeck. Leboeck came over in the second half, kicked both his goals, three of his goals, two of them from each side, right on the sideline. Got the 100% goal kicking as well. And Rassie Erasmus has basically confirmed that at the moment, there is no reason for Manon Leboeck to be replaced by Andre Pollard. Yeah, so and he likes the fact that Manon Leboeck brings more of the attacking game to the game, to the Springboks, and the goal kicking, like he's saying that it's something that, Manon Leboeck is improving, and he's doing, the fact that he got all three on the weekend, something that he's very pleased about, which I think is too. He also alluded to that Pollard and Manon Leboeck could be working together in the background, even though Pollard is kind of like, he's trying, Pollard kind of stated that he's staying out of Leboeck's way to not interfere with the goal kicking. But yeah, it's something that, just having someone in the pressure in the camp puts pressure on both players to perform, to fight for the number 10 jersey, and that's something that, that drives the success for a team. And with that being said, there was an incident on the weekend where there was a head collision on Makazole Mapimpi, and the referee did not, very controversially, didn't issue a yellow card. Later on, it was discovered that Mapimpi suffered a fractured cheekbone. Initially, I thought that should have been a yellow card, but the referee there was early incident with Dion Fourie hit another player in the head that was not looked at. I was actually initially thought that was okay, but obviously this has a much more severe consequences than the Dion Fourie hit. And yeah, so the Springboks has brought in Lukhanyo. Many to believe that the best outside center in the world. Has suffered a knee injury just before the Rugby World Cup, so he's had some time to recover. But is that enough for him? We don't know. But it's good to see that he's in camp again, having that experience in the camp, having that additional pressure applied to the other centers in on the field. Will just breathe success to the rest of the team. So obviously Ian Foster has to run his mouth like an idiot after his post-match game. He basically came out and said that, criticized after beating Italy by 96 points to 18 or whatever, and he basically came out and said that the ball game played in time in the South African was 28 minutes, which he's alluding that is too low, and the style of rugby, it's something that he doesn't want to see. It's the wrong, it's not the style of rugby the fans wanted to see. Quite a stupid statement. Like, honestly, Rassie Erasmus immediately, poked how stupid this statement was by listing the stats for both teams on Twitter, that the difference in bowling play is only about 2 minutes, just a little bit over 2 minutes. So 29:56 for the South African Ireland game, 32:07. So it's only about 2 minutes difference, and Ian Foster is making it sound like there is 40 minutes played or 50 minutes played bowling hand for the New Zealanders, and like hardly any rugby was played in the South African, as the stupidity that came out of his mouth really is. And then this is something that I really hate about New Zealand rugby, the way that they bash the game. Like they think they know what the audience wanted to see. They bash the game. The scrum, they bash the scrum, they bash the line outs, they bash the line out the maul. And Ian Foster is basically alluding to that once again. And I think it's really dumb, really, really stupid that New Zealand rugby continue to say stupid statements like this, because the rugby is definitely not doing well in New Zealand. And I don't know if these idiots realize this or not, but more than 50% of the players in the rugby team are forwards. And guess what? Forwards, the reason they play forward, because they like the scrummaging and they like the lineouts. Okay? Nobody playing forward, if they don't like that, okay? They would, if they don't like to scrummaging, they would just play rugby league. The reason they are in the team as a forward, because they like it. And 50%, more than 50% of your participants are forwards. So you coming out and bashing the forward pack constantly, not smart, New Zealand rugby, not smart, Ian Foster. That's probably why New Zealand rugby is losing money. But hey, anyway, with that being said, I was on the Good, the Bad, the Rugby podcast in Australia this week. So I talked about this in the podcast. So if you want to go have a see, so yeah, shout out to the guys who give me an opportunity to express my, my frustrations at rugby in general and New Zealand rugby at the Bulello Cup. so you can go have a look at it. I'll put the link down in the comments below. Here it is, me having a rant in front of rugby Wallaby legends. Very, massive privilege and pleasure for me. So go have a look at that, and I basically talked about my feelings towards the stupidity of New Zealand rugby when it comes to this sort of statements. But Rassie Erasmus already, made him look like an idiot in one tweet. Ian Foster, and just to think that you finally done something well that you everybody's proud of about the All Blacks, to come out and make a statement like that is just unbelievable. Immediately, he's learning from the Eddie Jones, I think. Yeah, that makes sense. Maybe we should hire Ian Foster and fire Eddie Jones, because I think Ian Foster is actually doing a great job in that regards. And again, New Zealand pundits running their mouths like idiots. Jeff Wilson, when asked whether or not Ireland and South Africa could play in the grand final, said no, because All Blacks is not involved in this. My goodness, man. Again, I had a in the podcast here, also had a lot to say about the commentary from New Zealand rugby as well. So feel free to check that out. Give these guys a subscribe. So we're trying to help out rugby all around the world and help them improve. So yeah, as you would expect, the idiots at Rugby Australia, after what else are they gonna do after the Wallabies crash and burn in Rugby World Cup? Yeah, let's make another big offer for rugby league players and get us in the front page again and have the whole country laugh at us again, or building momentum for interest and for rugby union. So they've also offered what's his name, Angus Crichton. I mean, again, I've seen him play, but I actually, if you show me a picture of him, I can't name him, right? I've seen him play, and he plays for the Roosters. And again, his teammates with Joseph Swali'i, they offered him 1.6 million for 2 years instead of 1.6 for 3, as they did for Joseph Swali'i. And he has to play for the Western Force. That's honestly, if you want to bring him as a serious contender for the Wallabies, why would you put him at a Western Force? I mean, God, the stupidity from this team, from this management, is just unbelievable. Unbelievably stupid, right? I mean, welcome, Angus Crichton. Watch your career go down the drain in 2 years, and then hopefully you can enjoy your money, maybe go to France or something. But yeah, mate, welcome to the graveyard where your career dies, mate. Jesus, it's unbelievable how stupid these people are. Anyway, so some update from France now. The Antoine Dupont has been in training with France. Obviously, suffered a fractured cheekbone, and he has surgery done on the cheekbone, and he has been, doing training with his team, and then from his team's perspective, he's actually good to go. But ultimately, it comes down to whether or not the surgeon is going to give him the green light to play in the quarterfinals. He's obviously not going to be playing this weekend against it's not Uruguay, against Italy, even though this is a very important match. So yeah, actually I forgot. Let's have a quick look at the pool standings for the rest of the thing. So if the Italians beat France this weekend, they will actually go through in the pool. Yeah. So that is quite a scary prospect for the French. And they don't need a bonus point. They don't need anything. They just need to beat the French, because the France has failed to secure the bonus point against Uruguay. So the Italians will just go straight through if they beat France at any margin, right? And that is a very scary prospect for the French. And, after losing to the All Blacks, can the Italian pull themselves back? That is the question. Obviously, Pool C, the one that I really want to forget. Fiji, after beating Georgia in that very clutch comeback, has put themselves in a position that they just need one bonus point, losing bonus points, scoring 4 tries, winning the game. In any sort of fashion, they will go through ahead of Australia. So if Portugal upsets Fiji and denies Fiji a bonus point, then Australia, I guess we'll have to witness Eddie Jones playing against England and suffer through that nightmare once again. But yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen. And finally, there's a do or death match in the Pool D as well. Argentina versus Japan. This is the final match. Whoever wins that will go through. England's already through. So that's another big match to watch on the weekend. So let's go back to where we were. And yes, with that being said, the All Blacks has announced their team to play against Uruguay this weekend. Uruguay, like I said, did it really well against against France and deny them a bonus point, crucial bonus point. So the All Blacks has put out a pretty strong team with some minor adjustments here and there, trying out a few different things, which is very interesting to see. So let's have a look at the All Blacks team that's going to be playing this weekend. So first up, Ofa Tuongafasi again gets the number 1 jersey ahead of Ethan de Groot, who's obviously he's suspended. Cody Taylor comes in number 2, and the big return off the bench last week, Tyrell Lomax, in my opinion, probably the best or one of the best prop in the world. There was some article that came out today where Andrew Mertens was naming his potential players that can. He named 5 players that could play in the Irish team. He didn't name Tyrell Lomax. I think Tyrell Lomax will potentially contend that number 3 jersey ahead of Ty Furlong. He's just that good. Sam Wildkard comes in number 4, the experience. Tupo Vaa'i comes in number 5 off the bench. He's been off the bench quite a bit. I think he started against France in the first round. But yeah, Shannon Frizzle comes in at number 6, and his return against Italy showed already tremendous physicality they brought to the team. Sam Cam comes off the bench from last week at number 7. And Luke Jacobson gets caught in at the number 8 jersey. Luke Jacobson is a very, very solid player, had a very solid season for the Chiefs. It's good to see that he finally gets that opportunity in the number 8 jersey. Cam Roigard, probably many people think that he should be starting for the All Blacks altogether, comes in at number 9, the speed injection and just the talent that he's showing, something that, Aaron Smith will be, he really makes a good claim over the number 10 jersey over Aaron Smith at the moment. Richie Mo'unga comes in number 10. Ian Foster has decided not give Tim McKenzie the 10 jersey. I'm finding that very little bit surprising, especially, if Mo'unga gets injured, is he going to play Bowden at 10 if Mo'unga gets injured when Damian McKenzie is clearly better than Bowden at 10, just based on Super Rugby in recent performances? Yeah, I find that a little bit interesting how he decided for Mo'unga at 10 and not Damian McKenzie. Number 11, Lester Fainga'anuku, the powerhouse for the Crusaders, comes in at number 11. Jordie Barrett gets some more needed game time coming back out of his injury at number 12. And Anton Lennon-Brown moves to number 13 jersey for Rieko Ioane. Number 14, Will Jordan retains that shirt. And finally, Damian McKenzie at a fullback position. I really think that the best option for the All Blacks is to actually have Jordie Barrett at fullback if they wanted to play the kicking game. And Damian McKenzie probably at 10. That's my opinion. I think that Anton Lennon-Brown could move to 12 and play with Rieko Ioane. Anton Lennon-Brown's a very good defender anyway. He might not be as proficient in being a second playmaker like Jordie Barrett is, but you really don't need that when you have Damian McKenzie at 10, and then you have Jordie Barrett at 15 who can be that second playmaker anyway. So I think that's probably the best setup for the All Blacks, to be honest. But hey, Ian Foster likes to grant wishes for people playing out of position. It is what it is. Number 16, Somasani Hakiaho gets some more time. He really needs that time. He's been very rusty. Number 17, Tamati Williams and Fletcher Newell comes in number 18, the Crusaders, front rowers, filling those gaps. And number 19, Scotty Barrett. And finally, my favorite All Blacks in recent times, Ethan Blackadder, also doubles up as that third line option. He's just so spectacularly good. Everything he does is very clinical, very smooth. He just makes everything looks easy. I'm a huge fan of Ethan Blackadder. In case you guys don't know, Phelan Christie comes in number 21 and Bowden Barrett number 22. He will be coming on as looks like for Richie Mo'unga for the 10 reserve jersey. And finally, Caleb Clark gets that number 23 jersey as an additional winger for the All Blacks. And England has a new system that's being talked about that they wanted to build towards the 2027 World Cup, with obviously a lot of English clubs are under financial stress, and one of the solutions that England Rugby is trying to propose at the moment is to give Steve Borthwick, the head coach of England, control over certain players as to what position they're going to play and like how to manage their game time. Basically, having control of players over the club, over their prospect clubs, just to prepare them for the Rugby World Cup coming in 2027, and the RFU will pay the clubs £40,000 for each player that is supplied to England Rugby this way. So England Rugby will have a little bit to say about how the players manage. So the clubs obviously, if can't play the players. If England Rugby said they can't play, if England Rugby needs them to do something or to do whatever, then the club, they have like rights to basically say, to have a say or what the player do or what position the player needs to be played for England Rugby. And for that little bit of control, the clubs gets £40,000. So that's something that's quite interesting to consider for England Rugby. We already talked about this a little bit, that Fiji almost lost to Georgia. Some people were saying that the Fijians were probably partying a bit too hard after beating Australia, but they were really able to pull that out of the fire. It was 0-9. They were down by 9 points, and they could have considered more. There was a 4-pass try that was disallowed just before halftime for Georgians. Could have been a lot worse for Fiji, but they managed to pull themselves out of the fire in the second half. 17 points as well. Big sigh of relief for the Fijians and for me as well. And please, Fiji, just need one bonus point anywhere against Portugal to make out of the pool. And obviously, there was some very sad news just before the match started. Joshua Tuisova, his son, passed away before the match. His son was in hospital for like a long-term illness, and it's not like he was in an accident or anything. So he was probably already, his family was probably already had something prepared for this eventuality. But very sad for him. But he still, despite that, played 30 minutes for his team to do his part of the role. So obviously we talked about this already, that Portugal, if somehow beats Fiji and denies a bonus point, Wallabies will go through. And Eddie Jones has taken the opportunity to make a joke about this matter and saying that he should send players to take cover to the Fijian camp to try to set them off the game. And very funny, Eddie Jones. Very, very funny, mate. Like, I know he's trying to make Connie comments so people stop laughing at the Wallabies, but I mean, I don't think you're doing that successful. You're doing that very successfully. But anyway, Carter Gordon was ruled out of the game before the Portugal match due to a knee injury. Whatever, who cares? So Scotland has actually put on a huge performance over Romania, 84 points to 0. And the big star out of that game was Darcy Graham. He's has been consistently the best winger in Scotland, despite all the rave about Duhan van der Merwe. Yes, Duhan van der Merwe is much bigger, faster, and stronger than Darcy Graham, but Darcy Graham has a much bigger heart than Duhan van der Merwe. And Darcy Graham broke the try scoring record in this match. I think he's got 4 tries, and the record was previously 3. So yeah, he is again showing the world, showing his dad, Gregor Townsend, that he is the best winger in Scotland and not Duhan van der Merwe. And it was quite impressive for Scotland team. And Darcy Graham is quite a weapon, quite a scary for the Scottish, for Irish to consider this weekend. We've already talked about this a little bit as well. Italy lost to the All Blacks, 96 points to 7. Absolute flogging. There's some talks for them to get kicked out of Six Nations, and it was an absolute embarrassment. So Nicolas Sanchez has completed his centenary on the weekend against Chile. This was the first All-South American Rugby World Cup match between the two teams, and Sanchez was really shot that experience, like nice and easily controlled the game to win over a comfortable win over Chile. And I thought, there's obviously a question to be asked about the 10 jersey. Should Sanchez take over the 10 jersey against Japan this weekend over Carreras? Because he's been struggling quite a bit the recent times. He's just been really out of form. So yeah, Michael Cheika will have to consider that, because the performance in this match from Nicolas Sanchez was very, very impressive indeed. So Stephen Moore, the former Wallabies captain, one of the best players in the Wallabies ever, has come out and talked about some of the Wallabies' woes recently and some of his opinion on the issues. So he basically came in and said that he was very excited that Eddie Jones was taking over, because he has worked with Eddie Jones when he was a youngster, before Eddie Jones was fired in around like 2007, 2006. Or when was Eddie Jones fired? So Stephen Moore has talked about that, and he actually said that the way that Eddie Jones is operating now, he find that a little bit alarming, and it's very different from when he worked with Eddie Jones back in in the mid 2000s, right? And he thinks that if Eddie Jones talking to Japan is true, is something that the player base will be very difficult to be dealing with, and something that Rugby Australia needs to have a rethink about keeping him as a head coach, essentially. And he also said that the chairman, Hamish McLennan, is really making stupid decisions. Suali'i firing David Rennie, hiring Eddie Jones, and also, they have just made that Crichton deal as well. And he basically sees that all of these things are very unconventional from the way that Rugby Australia normally operates. And he feels that there's no governance in Rugby Australia at the moment, and it's just like people doing things, calling the shots, without any oversight. That's kind of like the gist of what he's saying. Like, the member unions are not really, asserting their opinions to make sure that the right decision is being made. So yeah, some pretty interesting stuff from Stephen Moore there over the week. Steve Hansen also came out and talked about his thoughts on rugby in my part of the world, and he thinks that Australian rugby should be cutting down to 4. I don't agree. I think we have the talent. I think you cut down to 4, it's still gonna be awful, and you cut down to 3, it's still the talent's gonna evaporate in a year, in 2 years, and then it's gonna be awful again. And if Rugby Australia don't do their job, don't do their don't get the fundamentals together, it doesn't matter how many teams you have, it's always gonna go down in one direction. So that's I disagree with Steve Hansen. So Argentina has a death match coming up this weekend. Japan has squeezed out a very close win over a very, very spirited Samoa team with only 14 players on the field with a red card for like pretty much half the match. And Japan was on the receiving end of it. Samoa was coming back, and yeah, really almost clutched the win in the dying stages. And this means that Japan has an opportunity to play for the quarterfinals if they beat Argentina on the weekend. Interesting, again, Japan started out really well, really strong, just like they did against England, and they just like really trickled off towards the end of the match against Samoa, against a 14-man Samoa. So maybe the Jamie Joseph have to think about some of the mental decisions at the end of the match. So another club has gone under in England, the Jersey Reds. They're a tier 2 team. I think they top the tier 2 division. But this is following the 3 Premiership League teams that has gone under: Wasp, London Irish, and the Worcester Warriors. So this is a massive problem for England rugby at the moment. A lot of these teams have taken too much debt during the pandemic, and then now the debts are due and they can't pay them back, essentially. Yeah. Finally, Uruguay has pulled out a comeback win over Namibia on the weekend. This was, again, a very frustrating match for Namibia and Alistair Coetzee's team. They were winning, did really well in the first, in the first part of the game, and then what's his name? And then Uruguay slowly but surely pulled themselves out of the fire. One of the captains was getting very heated with the referee. He was screaming at the referee in the second half of the game, something that he probably, I think Coetzee has to have a chat to him about that, because he could get sent off. And then that was also the back of giving up cards as well in the second half of the game. Namibia really just fell apart with the discipline, which compounded the pressure that they were getting. So yeah, very disappointing. They still haven't got their first win in the Rugby World Cup yet, but they can hold comfort that they had a better record against the All Blacks than the Italians. So yeah, that's something to be proud of. So anyway, thanks for watching this video, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Again, please go watch Good Bad Rugby Australia. It's a little bit hard to see, so I'll put the links down below. There's like a UK version, there's an Aussie version. So make sure you search Good Bad Rugby Australia to see this, and this is also right at the bottom of the playlist. So I'll put the link to this one, it's right at the bottom of their playlist, the latest video. But please check them out and go follow them on their socials. Really thanks them for giving me an opportunity to vent my frustrations about rugby, about the way about the way rugby is operated at the moment, and how I think they could be fixed, and how I think the Blue Little Cup could be improved and fixed as well in this video. So go have a look, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks to all the guys who donate money and support me financially. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, have a good week, guys. I'll see you guys later this week for team announcements, previews for the big match, Ireland versus Scotland, and then I'll see you guys on the reviews on the weekend. Thanks for watching. Have a good week.